Hi, good day. My name is Anthony Core. I am the president and founder of Omni Recycling of Westbury. Omni Recycling of Westbury was the first company to introduce curbside bottle and can recycling. We introduced it on Long Island in 1988. We're very proud of what we've done in the recycling industry, and we're proud of the programs and the recycling that we've done for our community. But it's very important that we recycle right in today's times, and we want to talk about recycling. We at Omni believe everything is recyclable, but is it economically recyclable? If it's in your program, it's in your program for a reason. If it's not in your program for a reason. And that really determines the commercial viability of recycling. So we need to be commercially viable for a recycling program to work. Okay? Men that are trained and equipment are designed to only deal with certain types of recyclables in the program. So let's talk about that. You could recycle furniture, but think about it. If you were going to recycle, let's say, a bed or a headboard, you would have to refinish it. You'd have to refabricate it. You'd have to fix it. And then after all that work was done, who pays for it and who uses it? Recycling really only works when the commodities that are being recycled can be reduced to a raw material, and that raw material is remanufactured into a new product. So let's look at what types of material are included in your community recycling program. First, the different types of material are based on the characteristic of the material. If it's a plastic, if it's a metal, what type of metal, what type of plastic. Because all the plastics that we use in life today cannot be recycled or cannot be economically recycled. Therefore, we have to look at what the program in your community says. So let's take a look at the rules and characteristics of recycling. First, the material that is collected, sorted, and processed has to be used in the manufacturing world as a raw material to make a new product. You can see why your headboard and refurbishing it or refinishing it wouldn't exactly fit that requirement of being a raw material in the recycling or the manufacturing world. Two, the material has to have a value as a raw material. Because it takes a great deal of money to collect it, to sort it, to bale it, to refine it, then sell it to the market. Don't forget, it rides on a truck at every stage, and that costs money too, and that uses resources. So the material has to have a value. Three, the material's value, after all the money expended on recycling, is more cost effective or environmentally effective than buying and using virgin material. Virgin material would be brand new material that you would make a product from. Remember, your community does not get a lot of additional funding from the state or the federal government for doing any of the recycling work we're talking about. So what we need to do is we need to follow program guidelines because that has been determined to be the most efficient in your community, and we all need to do our part to help our recycling program succeed. Okay? So first, what can I do as a resident? What can I do to make recycling better? Well, one of the issues is know what you buy. So we're going to go through some of the material that is in part of your recycling program. And what we want you to do is think about making those choices at the store and buy things that are readily recyclable. So when you shop, you can pick up items that are packaged in the proper plastics or metal containers that your village and town recycle, instead of the top type that's not allowed in your program. So if we start to do that, not only will we have an abundance of material to recycle, but also the stores would stop carrying packaging that's not recyclable. So we first suggest that you buy the right packages. One of the packages that are absolutely recyclable and have been recycled for many, many, many decades is aluminum. Aluminum cans. You can always pick a beverage, whether it be an alcoholic beverage or a soda beverage, in an aluminum can. You can also pick some water in an aluminum can. Aluminum is highly recyclable. Picking aluminum instead of, let's say, glass would be one of those really good choices. Metal, as I said, has always been a top pick for recycling. And metal gets recycled in your program in a number of different ways. One, the aluminum cans get recycled. So these are all aluminum cans. They should be included in your program. Two, aluminum trays, both foil and aluminum. Just take aluminum trays, rinse them out, crush them up, and you can put them with the foil right into your recycling bin. Just put them right in and just throw them in, as well as all of your aluminum cans. Okay? The next type of metal that is recyclable is your tin cans. Tin cans and metal cans that have food with the lids off, rinsed out, are also highly recyclable. At the plant, most of these get sorted by computer equipment and magnets and eddy currents that repel aluminum and attract metal. They also have to be refined by workers to make sure that everything that goes in is proper and doesn't have any contamination. Then, what else is recyclable? Well, let's talk about plastics number one. So plastics number one is called PET. PET has on the jug a number one recycling label. And you can look at that, but you have to look at it really very, very closely. But all of these plastics are recyclable. These plastics should be included. They should all be included in your recycling bin. Next, HDPE, number two, plastic number two. Mainly natural and color. Natural has your milk containers, and color are your detergent. Okay? These are highly recyclable. A lot of products are made from plastics number two. So all of the number two plastics you want to put in your recycling bin just like that. This is also number two, but always check the labels to make sure you're taking the right material. This hair care product is also number two as well. Check the bottom and make sure number two goes in. Make sure number two goes into your bin. We almost have a full bin for the week for collection. Last, glass is recyclable. You should take the lids off, you should throw the lid out, and you should keep the glass jar. Now, glass is not that readily recyclable. We have a problem with using and reusing glass. Although it's included in your program, we would suggest you're much better off using plastic or a metal, aluminum, or tin can rather than buying a product in glass. But glass is absolutely included in your program. Let's talk about also what's not included in your program. We have a product that's packaged in cardboard cartons. Now, a lot of these cardboard carton products also come in HDPE. This is a much better choice. This is not recyclable. This goes right in your trash. And Tetra Pak, right in your trash. They cannot be reused. Other plastics also are not involved in your program. When we talk about plastic recycling, we have a lot of numbers. We have numbers 1 through 7. Number 1 and number 2, what we just went over, are the only items that are included in your program. Items number 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are not. If you want more details, you can look up different types of plastic and see what those products are. Some of those products that kind of slip by sometimes are covers like this that are made out of number 6. But sometimes covers like this are made out of number 1. So you really have to read the recycling information. Also, there are other plastics that are not recyclable that have food trays. Some of them look like this. Now, what's curious about this is this food tray is not even labeled with a recycling number. So we don't even know what type of resin this is. So not to contaminate the other material, a container like this has to be discarded. The same thing with the top. A lot of times they don't carry a number because they're made from different types of plastic that will not recycle or melt at the same rate. The other thing that gets done all the time is putting your plastics in a plastic bag. So even though this bag has all recyclable aluminum, putting it in a plastic bag is a very, very bad idea. The plastic bag is also not recyclable. So when you go to the supermarket, you should carry reusable bags and not ask for plastic. And even if you had to take a bag from the supermarket, it's a much better idea to use a craft bag, a brown paper bag, than a plastic bag. The government now is outlawing a lot of plastic bags, or they're charging for them because of their non-recyclable nature. So we want to tell everyone, don't put it in a plastic bag. What the material should be is basically put curbside like this, ready for collection on your curbside commingled collection day. The reason why the name is commingled is because commingled is the word for mixing things together. So we have a lot of different types of material mixed in together. That's why we call this commingled. We're looking forward to a narration of our plant to see what happens, but understand that whenever you put things in that don't belong in your community's recycling program, what that actually does is cause a greater degree of waste. It actually hides some of the material from the pickers and electronic technical equipment, where they cannot pick out a particular plastic because it was covered by another plastic that wasn't of the proper type. So we really want you to recycle right, and recycling right is exactly what we need to do. Please enjoy the tour of the facility, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Now we see a truck from the town of Hempstead dumping at the tipping floor. After the sanitation crew has gone through the recycling route and they fill up the truck, both sides, the fiber side that contains the cardboard and newspaper, and the commingled side which contains the beverage bottle and cans, they dump the beverage side onto the commingled tipping floor. As you see, it's coming out of the truck right now. And this truck is designed to be able to roll down the street and take both commodities at the same time, each of them in a separate compartment. It is very important for everyone to understand that the job of a sanitation worker historically has been to clean up everything on the street for a health and safety reason. But when it comes to recycling, that's counterproductive because they're only taking, and should be taking, what is part of the recycling program, what we can recycle effectively, efficiently, to make sure that everything that can be recycled is. As you see, there's some contamination in this collection because the department wants to clean the street. So it's very important that the resident only puts out the recyclables that the resident knows is part of the program. And if a resident finds the sanitation guy left something behind, they should know that it's not acceptable to the program, and they should understand why by either calling the town or the village or looking at the website for your jurisdiction. Now that the truck has dumped in the facility's tipping hall, a payloader or front-end loader will pile the commingled material up and will feed the material into the in-feed conveyor that goes into the facility building. That in-feed conveyor will carry material to the system to deal with the different and varying components. We talked about it being called commingled. The word commingled, again, just means to put together. So it is the name we chose in 1988 for the various type of bottle and can food and beverage containers that we were going to include in the commingled material. We included, again, plastics 1 and 2, aluminum, tin, and glass. Out of the aluminum, we include trays and aluminum foil, as well as aluminum cans. The tin, all types of tin, food and beverage containers. Glass, all 3 types of colors. And plastics marked 1 and 2, which are PET and HDPE, commonly known as your water bottles, your milk jugs, and your detergent and hair care products. Looking at the system, we're now going to see the payloader again feed the in-feed conveyor. This is the second worker that the material meets on the pre-sort line. This worker is taking out all non-conforming material. As you can see from the video, there is a lot of material there that shouldn't be in the glass bottle and can beverage container recycling program. A lot of it is plastic bags. A lot of it is undocumented plastics that are not 1 and 2. A lot of it is just garbage. The collectors sometimes take and dump what's in the container in the truck without being able to see what's in the recycling container. And homeowners don't recycle properly all the time. This is a great example of a contaminated load that's going through the facility that needs to have this worker pre-sort. Pots and pans that are metal and aluminum are allowed in the program, and some of that he's taking out. But absolutely fiber, newspaper, junk mail, and cardboard are not allowed in the bottle and can collection. They are collected differently, either by a different truck, on a different day, or in fact collected in a different compartment of the same truck, but they are to be kept separate. This is an example of when they're not kept separate and they're mixed together. We wanted to show you how contamination affects the system and how every time you contaminate the bottle and cans and don't keep the bottle and cans as we have subscribed it to be collected, that it causes better, more recyclable products to be missed. Following the material from the pre-sort line, the material goes to an elliptical separator. The elliptical separator is a newly developed piece of equipment that will separate 3-dimensional bottle and cans from 2-dimensional plastic and paper. This unit was installed to deal with a high level of contamination. We would much rather not have the level of contamination in the bottle and cans. We would much rather have the material in the programs recycled correctly. But if there are contamination items, such as 2-dimensional paper or cardboard or plastic film, this elliptical separator will do some of the mechanical separation in order to identify and to segregate the three-dimensional bottle and cans. The elliptical works very simply. It's like a Stairmaster in the gym, but by having air flow over a step-type elliptical system, two-dimensional paper walks up, two-dimensional plastic walks up, but three-dimensional bottle and cans will roll down. By them rolling down off this elliptical separator, what ends up happening is they will be introduced into the system. Now, that bunker that you see filmed here is the two-dimensional garbage that's included in the glass bottle and can recycling. Some towns have a very, very bad program. This is now the three-dimensional bottle and cans being introduced into the sort system. This conveyor is just bottle and cans with a few contamination items. They will then be lifted into a vibratory pan. The vibratory pan does two things. It introduces the material in a very uniformed way so a magnet can take out the metal. Looking at the system now, we're moving from the glass production line to the picking line, where the bottle and cans are sorted by resin. Number 1, number 2 natural, and number 2 color are separated from other non-recyclable plastics. We're now looking at the HRB baling machine. The baling machine actually cubes the recyclables for recycling market transportation. We'll take a look at each of those cubes after we've separated the material and show you what a baled commodity of plastic, aluminum, or metal looks like. Going back to the floor, the contamination bunker is raining down on paper and plastic that's not recyclable that was separated in the 2D, 3D elliptical separator. All of what you see raining down gets disposed of and emptied out at least 3 to 4 times an hour as it fills up, to give you an idea of how much material is not recycled correctly. As we go to the right, you'll see pickers that are identifying the resins and that putting the resins in a storage bunker that can feed the baling machine so they can be compacted as a separate resin. As the 3D bottling cans come up to the vibratory pan, they go through a magnet. The magnet is taking out the metal material, and there's a quality control picker. On the picking station, each individual has been separated due to COVID-19 concerns in 2020, and they're picking out the resin that they're assigned to pick. Looking at the system again, you'll see the contamination level high with regard to the elliptical ballistic separator, taking out the two-dimensional from the three-dimensional. One of the reasons why we don't want you to crush cans is because the three-dimensional separator uses the three-dimensional characteristic of a bottle and can in order to roll down the elliptical. This is another look at the pre-sort belt, and each of the workers are trained to follow a complete and separate type of plastic resin, either a component of plastic number 1, plastics number 2, and they are putting them into the bunkers that are assigned to that resin. So as you see, manual picks go very quickly. Men and women can pick faster currently than a robot or a computer. So using human labor for this process is more efficient right now. Over time, there may be some more efficiencies gained through technology advancements through robotics. Currently, optical sorters do this type of job as well, but they still require humans on the quality control check. Using this system as we designed in 1988 still is relevant today and efficient. However, you can see the amount of plastics on the belt that are not allowed in the program. Those plastics hide the good plastic. So every time someone recycles a plastic that's not in the program, that plastic causes or hides a better plastic from being recycled. So please recycle right. Only put in your bin plastics 1 and 2, metal and aluminum, and glass. Please recycle right, and the program will work, and more material could be reclaimed and recycled. You see the 3D bottling cans that have been cleaned out from the in-feed pre-sort and the elliptical 3D, 2D separator. And you see that the characteristic of those bottling cans are truly just bottling cans with only a limited amount of contamination. What we're looking at straight ahead in the large green box is a electromagnet from Erie's company. That electromagnet will pull out the metal ferrous, the Fe metal, that can be magnetized and drawn through an electromagnet. The gentleman that's working up top, and now we see him pictured, is the quality control. The orange magnet at the top of the screen is pulling out the ferrous material over a vibratory pan. The material without the ferrous metal is then going on an elliptical separator that we call an eddy current. That eddy current is separating all of the aluminum from the plastic. That aluminum separation is separating both the aluminum trays, the aluminum foil, as well as aluminum cans mechanically. All three of those products, although they need manual separation, are separated from the grouping of commingled material coming from the vibratory pan and the electromagnet. The gentleman that's in the video is doing quality control on the ferrous picked by the magnet, taking any plastics that rode along on the magnet train and cleaning the ferrous product. So we're only baling clean ferrous metal. Now we're looking at the Erie's eddy current feed conveyor from the vibratory pan, and the quality control gentleman that's cleaning out the ferrous and the plastics. As you can see, some metal that is not bottling can has to be separated at this point. Although it's made of metal and the electromagnet did pick it up, that cannot go into a bale with bottling cans that are metal in nature, ferrous metal in nature. So all of that needs to be clean, and we'll see that in the final baled product. the eddy current has a magnetic field that's actually throwing aluminum metal out from the drop down, which is the plastics. The plastic drop down then would go to the picking belt, and the aluminum would then be drawn into the aluminum separation belt. Now we're looking at the aluminum separation belt. This belt is carrying all aluminum metal that's been mechanically separated by the Erie's eddy current. That aluminum consists of the aluminum trays, the aluminum foil, and aluminum cans. Also, any precious metals like brass would also be repelled in the eddy current, as an eddy current does not attract the metal that's aluminum, but actually repels it. Here, on a single worker station, is a worker looking at just the aluminum products coming before him. He is separating the aluminum foil and plates from aluminum cat food cans. The cat food cans are baled and made into separate products differently from the aluminum foil and aluminum trays and from the aluminum cans. He is performing several functions. He is separating the cat food, dog food cans, he's separating the aluminum foil and the aluminum trays, and he is making sure that the aluminum cans are cleaned with quality control. So just aluminum cans go into the aluminum bin. Now we're looking at the aluminum can bin. This holding bin is holding aluminum cans ready for the baler to bale. Now we're looking at the bale in-feed conveyor. This conveyor will take all of the products as they empty out from pneumatic operating doors onto the conveyor that would feed the baling machine. The baling machine that we look at is an HRB Harris high density baler. This baling machine makes the recycling products into a cube, and the cubes can fit into a trailer, 6 cubes per 6 feet high. So the cubes get loaded into a tractor trailer for shipment to market in the most economical way possible to save shipping costs and to ship economically. The HRB baler is controlled by a baler operator that controls the pneumatic doors on the holding bins and that controls the speed of the conveyor and controls the baling apparatus. The bunkers have a feed door at the bottom. The feed door is activated by an air pneumatic piston controlled by the baler operator through video cameras. This is a picture of the door opening for the HDPE natural containers. These are just number 2 HDPE natural containers that are going up the baling conveyor. Once they were commingled with all the other material through the equipment and through labor, they have been picked out individually without any contamination. The recycling marketplace only takes this material free of contamination so they can make new products from it. As you see, the plastic resin is homogeneous. It's all of the same type of bottles. The market does prefer no caps but that's something that has to be done by the homeowner in your collection, removing the cap. It's too difficult, too time consuming for the plant to remove the cap. Ultimately, the caps would be removed when all of this material is washed and ground before it's made into new plastics. We're looking at all the other bunkers that are closed currently that have other material in them. It takes several minutes to empty out a full bunker and to bale that bunker in the HRB Harris baling press for shipment to a recycling marketer. Again, all of these products are designed, all the bunkers are numbered, all the men are trained to only pick out plastics number 1, plastics number 2. From the plastics number 2, they are picking out the natural and they are picking out the color differently. Those are the only 3 types of plastics that we currently can move to market as an abundance of material as a raw product. Now you're looking at the baler chamber from the baler operator station. This happens to be PET, the water bottles, the soda bottles. You can see they're clear in nature. Most of them still have their labels on, which the market does not mind. And the ram is now plunging in, compacting the material. It compacts the material to a high density bale that weighs about 1 ton or 2,000 pounds and measures 3 feet high, 4 feet long, and 2.5 feet wide. We're going to see what one of these cubed bundles looks like, but here's the operating station for the HRB Harris baler. The operator is not only operating the baler and the baler system, he's also operating the conveyor doors and the bunker doors that open up for each of the separate material. Going to the ejection part of the baler, that's where the bales of recycled product come out. They get strapped by an 11 gauge wire to hold them with an automatic strapper. We're taking a look at the strapper and the ejector piston moving the finished baled material that's been separated by the system. Who would have believed that these separate commodities are made in the plant after collecting all the commingled material curbside? Remember, whatever is not allowed in the program exit the facility as trash and has to be disposed of. You're looking right at a PET number 1 plastic bale from the baling machine being strapped now by a second worker. Looking at the bale ejector, there is PET bale number 1. There is a PET bale here that came out just before. Then before the PET bale, you will see an HDPE number 2 bale of color. That is a color bale, mostly detergent bottles and colored milk jugs. Then, in front of that, there was a bale of tin, which is ferrous metal cans. As you see, the baler is highly skilled. He finishes a full bale of one product because of his experience and because of the electronic equipment on the baler to identify product end, and he starts a new bale of a new product. This way, each individual bale is a separated product and a different product to market. The commodities that are being recycled go to very different places. The ferrous metal would go to make new steel. That's going to a detinning plant and a steel mill. A steel mill does not do any plastic recycling. So the steel mill doesn't want any type of plastic in their metal. An aluminum mill doesn't want any plastics or doesn't want any ferrous metal. They just want their aluminum. And if they're an aluminum can mill, they just want aluminum cans. They don't want any of the foil or the trays or the cat and dog food cans. Here, a Heister forklift picks up the 1-ton bale and stacks it in the warehouse. As you see, sometimes parts of the bale fall apart that are not strapped. For the most part, this only attributes to about 1/4% of the bale. That gets swept up at the end of the day and reintroduced into the system to be separated again, so we don't lose any of that product. The forklift then handles the 1-ton bale and will stack the 1-ton bale up in the hall. What we're looking at are bales of aluminum foil, we're looking at bales of aluminum cans, and we're looking at bales of plastic. We'll take a closer look at all of that material in a moment. Now we're looking at HDPE natural. That is just white milk cartons. Remember what we said. Please do not buy your juice and milk products in a Tetra Pak or in a carton. Don't buy those. Use a plastic milk jug. The milk jugs have been highly recyclable and in demand, and this is one aspect of all the bales of milk jugs that will find themselves into different products, like garden furniture, like plastic lumber, like other types of containers and other milk jugs. To take a look at all the bales that we will ship in the course of a week, this is a stack of material ready to go to the recycling market. Again, this is number 2, HDPE natural. Now we see number 2, HDPE color. The color sometimes is a little deceiving because the milk jugs sometimes are made out of color which are pure white. It's still a color. It's still a color being pure white. But that also in color includes not only the pure white, but also includes detergent, which is sometimes red, sometimes blue, and sometimes yellow. This is a bale of foil. This is aluminum foil. It bales up very nicely, and you can see the difference between the aluminum foil, which is all monocolored, and behind it, the aluminum cans, which are painted or colored or dyed in the colors of the manufacturer. Like Coca-Cola is red and Sprite is green. You see some of those green and red colors as well. The foil does look very uniform in the silvery color, where the cans have some of the color in them that you can see in the bale. Again, each of these products, although they're aluminum, go to different mills for different processing. But right now, they become and are a raw product used to feed a much bigger manufacturing demand outside of the community that collected them. But know that all of these products do not find their way into the landfill. All of these products will find their way into another product. This product will find its way into an aluminum beam for someone's house or for part of manufacturing, or would find its way into a new can. This is the PET, plastic number 1 PET. PET or PETE. Again, it's clear. Sometimes it has a greenish tint. But this is the PET bales that are ready to go to market as well. Again, recycling in the program is based on the highest volume of plastic that can be used for new products. That's why it's very important never to throw out a plastic number 1 and number 2. Always recycle them. And do not recycle any of the other plastics that are not included in the program. By trying to recycle them, you think you're doing a good deed, but in fact, you're hurting the recycling program and you're causing true recyclable plastics that are made from 1 and 2 not to be recycled. That's very, very important. It's very, very important not to put your recyclables in a plastic bag unless you're instructed to by your community. This is more of the aluminum pie plates, and some of these pie plates are colored. Some of this also are bales of the tin cans. These tin can bales would become product again. This is looking at the glass line. The glass line that we're looking at right now actually processes and crushes all of the glass that's not separated from clear. Clear glass is the only glass that we try to recycle in the U.S. Green glass is not made in the U.S. In fact, green glass is made in Europe. And brown glass is very difficult to recycle because of the pigment brown does not cause a homogeneous redyeing or recolorization of the bottle. Clear glass is the only glass that can try to find its way into the recycling market. With regard to the other colors, we do still crush them and trommel them with this trommel to bring the glass down to 3/8 minus. Colored, broken, ground 3/8 minus glass can be used as a drainage, construction, aggregate substitute. And that material is readily used when the government, the town, or the village demands its use. This is the start of the glass in the glass line, and what you see are the 2 Andela crushers that are used to crush the glass. The glass does not leave this closed loop unless it's 3/8 minus. We'll look at some of that crushed glass as well as some of the whole glass that we pick out by hand for recycling that's clear in nature. Somewhere on the pre-sort line, you saw a worker picking out clear whole bottles of clear glass. This is the only glass that has a sustainable market. That glass will make its way through the plant and out a glass feed conveyor before crushing. The reason why the glass manufacturers do not want clear to be crushed is because there's a very extensive examination process. Glass cannot be recycled unless it is pure glass. Ceramic plates or plate glass or windshield glass or mirrors will contaminate the glass load. Here, this is the crushed glass. It doesn't look like glass because it's 3/8 minus, but this glass mostly is brown and green. This glass is used for the drainage pea gravel substitute in construction projects. The demand for this glass is not great. There should be more governmental regulations mandating and requiring the use of this material. But there are not readily available uses for this material. The material does, for the most part, not find its way into a reuse or a recycling issue. or manufactured use. It could be used more readily if we committed to have it used. The facility that we just toured makes anywhere between 12 to 15 tons of this type of crushed glass a day. I hope you enjoyed a tour of the plant. That plant works every day, Monday through Saturday. It's a regional plant, so it takes material from all the residents in the town of North Hempstead, in the town of Hempstead, in the town of Oyster Bay, in the town of Huntington, and all of those associated villages and districts. It is a very big regional plant, and it's very important that the plant operates well, operates economically, and has no downtime. With regard to that plant, there are things that people have put in their recyclables that have actually shut down the plant for a few days and caused a substantial amount of damage. One of them is garden hoses. People think the green or the black garden hose is recyclable. It's absolutely not. In fact, the garden hose gets into the gearing of the system and actually can tear the gears apart and break down the mechanism. Wire hangers, also very dangerous. Okay, children's play sets, the big like fort or play set or swing set. The plant, as you see, is designed for beverage and food bottling cans. This is about the biggest thing that should be going through the plant. Anything bigger is a problem and will break the plant. And having a plant breakdown costs a lot of time and a lot of money and is a problem. Also, not recycling right, as we talked about before, will cause good recyclable material not to be collected because it's hidden by material that shouldn't be there. So let's go over again some of the things that you can do. Everything that you pick up and recycle should go in the bin loosely. Do not use the bag. This is a bad idea. You should empty that bag right into the bin and leave the bin just like this for collection and throw the bag away. Okay? Number 2, when you go to choose a beverage from the supermarket, okay, let's not choose glass. That is very difficult to recycle and has very, very limited markets, and sometimes no market at all. Let's choose metal. Metal is a much, much better idea than the glass. Let's make that choice. When you go to the supermarket and buy milk or half and half or juice, don't buy them in the carton. Don't buy them in the carton. Throw that carton away. It's not part of your program. Buy it in the number 2 jug, and there are different types of number 2 jugs to use. Okay? And lastly, any plastics that are not 1 or 2 should not be included in recycling. If you want to reuse something like this, clean it, wash it, and put it in your cupboard to maybe use it for lunch. But don't put it in the recycling. And when it gets old, discard it. But try to use it a couple of times before you throw it away. Don't use Tetra Pak either. Okay? If you notice on Tetra Pak, there isn't a recycling logo on there. There's a reason for that. Please choose a number 1 or number 2 plastic. Hope you enjoyed our facility tour. If you need any additional information, please contact Omni Recycling of Westbury, and we will provide your community all the information you need to know. Thank you.